Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Tuesday, September 3rd meeting of the Board of Aldermen. Our first order of business is additions and deletions to the agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions? I believe the city attorney has additions.
Yes, I do actually have two additions to the agenda for tonight for executive session. These are information only. One is to give an update on some negotiations that are happening, and another is about some pending litigation. And again, that's information only for tonight.
So I'd entertain a motion to add these two executive sessions.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on, we have amendment and approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the August 19th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve. It's been seconded. Are there any corrections or revisions to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up is public comment, where members of the public are invited to address the board on matters not on tonight's agenda. Are there any members of the public here to address the board on matters not on our agenda? Step right up, and if you could just state your name for the minutes. Welcome.
Hello. I'm Elizabeth Adams, and I'm a homeowner in Rutland City. I've been a homeowner here for about 25 years. I was also born here, and I've always lived near the intersection of North Street Extension and Bellevue growing up, and I now live about 8 houses down from there now. I was scared about the road diet because I lived here during the last iteration of it on Woodstock Avenue. Trying to keep a mostly open mind on it. What gave me more pause was the road diet at the end of where Mr. C's was at North Street Extension, where it hits North Main Street. Because growing up, all the accidents that I saw there, which is why they closed off North Street to begin with. Mostly because there's this like blind elevation spot there where you can't really see. On the second day of the implementation driving on it, I was trying to turn onto North Street Extension to go home. Somebody entered the two-way left turn lane after I was already occupied in it, coming at me head on to go to the gas station, and it was a near miss. Had to slam on my brakes. It was very scary. I've heard similar reports from other people in the community at this particular junction. So I'm not here to fight the whole diet. I'm scared about that one location. I don't think I'm the only one, and I'm wondering if that problem has been recognized and if a solution is being temporary or permanent proposed for it, studying it. So that's it.
Thank you. I appreciate you letting us know.
Yep.
Are there any additional members of the public here to address the board on matters not on our agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to communications from the mayor.
Good evening. I'm going to start off by introducing Chris Louras and Megan Novak. Chris and Megan are our designated homeless coordinators for the city of Rutland, funded through the state grant that we were provided last year. Chris and Megan are going to take you through some of the work they've been doing and give you an update.
Hello, I'm Megan Novak. I know that many of you might not know me, so I did want to give you a little bit of background introduction to me before I talk more about what Chris and I have been doing and the work that we still have ahead of us. I'm originally from South Carolina. I moved to Vermont about a little over 4 years ago for 2 reasons. The first, most important reason is my husband is born in Rutland, raised in West Rutland, and told me right from the get that he wanted to raise his family in Vermont, and I said, Vermont sounds nice. And so following up on that, I got a job in Vermont too. So I was hired by Crime Research Group, and I had been working there for the last 4 years. That's actually where I met my colleague, Chris. We've both been working there for the last 4 years as research associates. And I'm incredibly grateful for my time there. I was able to learn a lot about Vermont in those 4 years, a lot about crime in Vermont in those 4 years, and a lot about issues that intersect with crime in Vermont. And so a couple of projects that I worked on there included a examination of law enforcement responses to individuals in a mental health crisis. And then I've also done a multi-year process evaluation for a Lund DCF partnership, which brought intensive in-home services to individuals, parents particularly, with substance use disorder who are at risk of having their child placed outside of their home. And so, one of the reasons that CRG hired me was for my expertise in qualitative research methods. That includes stuff like interviewing, ethnography, which is, observation, content analysis, which is systematic review of written documents or video. And so a lot of those things have brought me here and helped me out in my job with CRG. But when it comes to our work as homeless response coordinators, we're kind of really just getting started. And, I know a lot of people say this, I'm going to say it anyways because it's true. We're really excited about the work that we're doing and the work that we're going to continue to do around the issues of housing and homelessness in Vermont. I'm really hopeful that the mayor's vision of a transitional housing program is going to come to life in the city. And when it does, a large portion of our work will be somewhat focused on planning for that facility, for the programs and services in that facility. But until then, we've kind of been working on a lot of things that we think will be beneficial to this process with or without a transitional housing program. And, a lot of this, because we just have gotten started really into the work in August, is still in what I would say is kind of a fact-finding stage. But we've created some guiding questions to help us, focus our investigations as we move forward with the process. A few of those questions that we've been working on thus far are focused around trying to figure out what type of data exists about Rutland's unhoused population currently, and really trying to understand the limitations of that data, if there are any. We've also been becoming more acquainted with the services and resources that are available in Rutland currently, and also trying to identify any potential challenges or barriers to accessing those resources or any gaps in those resources. And most recently, we've started trying to become more familiar with community perspectives on the issues of housing and homelessness in the city and surrounding areas. So there will be a community forum coming up soon, but I also do want to draw attention to a community comment forum that's currently available on the city's homepage. Please help us spread the word on that. We need to get feedback from as many community members as possible on these issues. Chris and I both know that if we're going to come up with a strategic plan for Rutland, it's really imperative that we learn about and learn from the community's experiences thus far. And so I think Chris has a little bit more detail and fancy charts for you, so I'll let him take that away.
Thanks, David. So, Chris Louras, North Street, Rutland, Vermont. I'm just going to dive in. I've got nothing to add to what Megan said. She's the brains of the operation. And not only has the letters next to her name to go with it, but I wouldn't be doing this and would not have answered the mayor's phone calls had I not had Megan as a partner in this endeavor. And I know what her strengths are from working tight with her over the last 3 years, and those strengths will serve the city very well in this endeavor. And as she said, I'm excited to be doing this. We both, frankly, when we read the state's grant agreement and the job announcement for the position, we both said, who is the knucklehead they're going to get to do this? And then when we started talking about it, we realized that she brings a certain set of skills that I do not have, and I bring a certain set of skills that she does not have. So we're really working in partnership on this endeavor. One more sideline piece is it likely will, at least tangentially, tie into some state work. Just want to let you know that we are each working 20 hours a week on this gig, and we are also partnering together with an individual who helped the city out when she was at the League of Cities and Towns, named Gwen Zakoff. We are working on the statewide public safety enhancement team. If you've read about a former chief, former colonel, former DC Department of Corrections Commissioner Jim Baker. He's been doing this work, rolling out a project vision model through the PSET, Public Safety Enhancement Deal, in Bennington, Springfield, Brattleboro. He has decided that in the future he's going to step back from it. A request for proposals was put out, and we'll be working under the umbrella of Garnett Public Relations, and that's Gwen Zakoff, from who I worked with at the league. And so both of those projects will dovetail with one another, and we hope to learn from our state work over the next 18 months. And also, clearly, we're going to learn a lot from this project that we might be able to bring statewide. So Rutland and its response with you policymakers as partners could really make a difference statewide in the homelessness conundrum. And I'll give a little bit of background on that. You each have a chart, and unfortunately we couldn't throw it on the TV, but we'll find enough places to make sure it's accessible either through you, your social media connections, the city's website. The first chart you've got is not one that we created. This is a chart taken directly from the point-in-time report that is done by all of the homeless entities, the homeless response entities in the state, through the HHAV newly created organization that merged two statewide homeless organizations together. Once a year in January, all the homelessness subject matter experts and service providers in January do a point-in-time count so it can be measured year over year at the same time. A lot of challenges, and as Megan said, we're starting to dive into the data. There are a lot of data available, but the point-in-time report is the one that's longest, been around the longest. The data has been collected since Housing and Urban Development at the federal government said they needed the information in order to provide funding for all 50 states around homelessness issues. And you'll see on Chart A that the blue line is the statewide raw number of total homeless individuals in the state of Vermont as they were counted in January. Yes, they will be advocates, and the bureaucrats are the first to admit that there are problems with this data set, just like every other data set. But these numbers really reflect the statewide situation with individuals in homelessness. They do break it down by a lot of subcategories, but some of those subcategories are limited by who asks the questions, where the questions are asked, but really the raw numbers for the total people are as close or accurate as we can get. Working with the State Agency of Human Services, specifically Department of Children and Families, they have a lot better breakdowns, especially through their coordinated entry system into DCF's benefit system. So, blue line is 2014 to 2024, total number of homeless individuals counted in Vermont in the annual point-in-time count. You'll see that first year of COVID, there was a significant spike which continued statewide to increase. The red line in the middle is called balance of state. That's a term of, not a term of art, but a term associated with the HUD reporting. Chittenden County reports by itself, and all the rest of the state is lumped together. And then they try to break that out by Agency of Human Services districts, which somewhat align with the county lines throughout the state. And you'll see that after the initial spike for the balance of the state, that's everybody outside of Chittenden County, the numbers continued to go up significantly. And you'll see the bottom line that's the numbers from the Chittenden County Continuum of Care. That's the HUD terminology, where they had an initial spike and then somewhat of a leveling off, as you can see in this chart that is provided directly from the point in time report. So these are the numbers that the advocates and the service providers crunched themselves. There was no bias by Megan or me or anyone else crunching numbers. These are the homeless providers' numbers themselves. And it included, as you'll see in the note, that in the executive summary of the 2023 report, which was, it was all gathered last January in 2023, and the report came out in June, that the relatively smaller increase in persons experiencing homelessness in Chittenden County is likely due to the extremely tight market for hotel rooms in the county, which required people to relocate to shelter in other counties. What's left unsaid there, but is a known truth, is that as people relocated to shelter in other counties, it was purely and simply to go to a hotel where a hotel owner or owners raise their hand to volunteer and say, we will accept vouchers from the state for the motel hotel program, aka the emergency shelter program, and few hotels, motels in Chittenden County volunteered to change their business model from housing guests, visitors, etc., to taking part in the voucher program. The state was intent on doing this because, as their policies state in rule and facts and findings of statute, Vermont is a shelter-first state. That means Vermont wants to make sure individuals have a roof over their head, regardless of whether or not there were resources available. And there are a lot of stories that Megan will certainly get into during her, qualitative work, that individuals left families, left resources, in some cases statewide, left jobs. Kids were pulled out of schools simply to come to a county, and the three most impacted counties were Rutland, Windham, codenamed Brattleboro, and Washington, codenamed Barry, where the hotel owners were willing to enter into contracts with the state for first $135 a night and then $80 a night, which changed in April. When the numbers, when the state changed their criteria and lowered from $135 a night to $80 a night in April, a number of hotels around the state chose not to continue to go with the program. That was not the experience in Rutland County, either in the city or in the town. The motel owners continued to take part in the program, and the numbers you see in front of you are reflective of January, and there is other data we have access to through the coordinated entry system that reflect, Rutland continued to see a surge after that April 1st date when a lot of people were lost their housing at the shelters. So in one other thing, and I apologize, part of our work, working for y'all in the city, is the mayor, wisely in my opinion, wanted to have not a statewide footprint, but gather resources and work on this issue from a statewide perspective through what is called a statutory task force that was created this last year in the legislature, the General Assistance Emergency Shelter Task Force. And I, with Megan's backup, are the representatives of the League of Cities and Towns. The League of Cities and Towns was given a seat on this 13-person body. 2 of the 13 people have lived experience. We are the only ones who have that municipal that municipal seating. And both Megan and I are working with both Ted Brady, the executive director of the league, and Josh Hanford, who came from the housing world in the state of Vermont as the Commissioner of Housing and Community Development. So they both have vast knowledge of what's going on with the homeless situation and the housing situation throughout the state. So we're really lucky that we've got the league as a resource for not only the city, but for our attempted impact statewide. Because before the mayor or anyone else can impact what's happening in Rutland, there's got to be some statewide discussions about both the voucher system and homelessness response and housing coordination in general through transitional housing to permanent housing, and including true defined emergency shelters under the state's definition, which has a lot of other considerations than what kids and families are provided in hotels. They need, emergency shelters for the state do have requirements for shared recreational space, outside space for kids and that type of thing, which is not what is part of the program with the hotels and motels. I can tell you that while it's apparent from our work that the issue around using hotels through this winter is going to continue, the state, both legislative folks who I've talked to that worked on the housing bill this past year, the folks who work with Agency of Human Services, and especially Adam Sansek, who works Rutland and Bennington County as the director for AHS in those two counties. The state, AHS, including local, the legislator, and the vast majority of the housing advocates and service providers recognize that continuing the motel voucher program is untenable. There's been a lot of lost opportunity with investments that could have been made into true emergency shelters, into transitional housing, and into permanent housing that left through the pockets of the motel and hotel owners around the state through COVID, and they recognize that that wasn't an investment in any type of infrastructure. So there's a move at the state level to try to remedy that, but no one has any, I can't say no one. There are people who have some very good ideas. The legislature worked on this past spring. A pretty comprehensive bill passed out of the House but died in the Senate, and that's the work of the Emergency Housing Task Force, is to give guidance to the legislature on how to move on from where we are in the homelessness and housing world that we're in. So this story on the first one is simply Rutland, Windham, and Washington counties are bearing a very disproportionate burden simply because motel owners raised their hands and the program that was in place since 2020 funneled individuals in need of shelter to Rutland more so than any place else. And you'll see that in the next slide. I'm going to make a note to self. Hold on. So the second one is figure 1, increase in homelessness by county, and it reflects the increase in homelessness as a percentage of individuals in the county, for lack of a better way to put that. I'm sorry, I'm starting to babble, so I'm going to hit the reset button. So, as figure 1 reflects, while Vermont experienced a 218% increase in homelessness between 19 and 24, It went from 1,089 folks up to 3,458 as of the last point in time count. The numbers for each of these other ones, as shown here, the source is from the point in time report itself. So those are not numbers anyone gathered except the advocates and the service providers who count the numbers. So statewide, we saw an increase over those 5 years from 1,089 to 3,458, so roughly 1,100 to 3,500 people, with Rutland, Windham, Bennington, and Washington County, as you can see by the chart, experienced the greatest increase in homelessness above the rates of that of the state. Rutland, 3 times the state numbers. That's reflective again of motel and hotel owners volunteering to take part in the state's emergency voucher motel program. Rutland's increase by the raw numbers was from 96 to 682. Rutland, the state, as you saw in the first piece of paper I handed you, Rutland's numbers for about 10 years were 100 people plus or minus 5 or 10 any given year. So that's why 96 is pretty darn close to 100, which was our average over the years, and then spiked up, and up even more than any other county in the state. Triple the increase of the state as a whole. And Windham County, Brattleboro, Washington County, especially Barry, with some Montpelier, were the other 2 counties to follow that have been hit disproportionately. Next, the mayor has been also had his focus with service providers in the city on working on a transitional housing facility for families. That and the figure number 2 here, the increase in under 18 homelessness in the county, again, Rutland 4 times the rate of the rest of the state, with majority of those families with kids living in hotels. And I can tell you, I think you'd all agree, if we, when we were kids, think of me. A lot of you know who I am. Can you imagine me as a 90-year-old kid in a hotel room with my mother? One of us wouldn't have come out. And while that's a joke, to the individuals who are in the hotels and motels, that's no joke. They are living in conditions that I don't think any of us would want to live in, but due to the state's policy of shelter first, they wanted to make sure individuals had the roofs over their head in spite of the fact that no additional resources were given to the counties that were disproportionately affected. That's at the school level, both in Rutland City, Rutland Town, school departments are feeling that hurt because they never budgeted for, never hired for, to bring in the resources for the people who would have to deal with this really vulnerable and at-risk population. Likewise, childcare, no bumps, and for adults and children alike, no additional resources for mental health counseling and treatment. So that's one of the things that Megan and I will be continuing to catalog are what resources are in the community and where are the gaps, what are we missing? Because there's a recognition that while we all want to get back to 2019 with hotels that are serving visitors and guests, and with 100 folks who are experiencing homelessness again, it's not going to happen anytime soon. I think we have to understand that. This is a problem that really was cast upon us, and the cav ain't coming. There are no white hats, there are no white horses. We're going to have to figure this out ourselves in Rutland, working with the state, working with the service providers. But The state is certainly in the near future not going to reverse course and, if you will, send individuals back from which they came wholesale with a troop of buses. It's not going to happen. We've got to figure this out. And the administration and the board, you guys are going to be key in this. But Megan and I are going to be not just working with you, but working with everyone else in the city that, and the town and the county, that we will need to in order to affect some type of outcome. Last one, figure 3, is just a breakout of the numbers of Chittenden County and Rutland County. And you can see the really cool inverse relationship. Again, raw numbers going back from 2013, that as Chittenden County had the greatest number of people and had more than their, if you will, their share of homeless individuals at 34% in 2013, that has been reduced to 23% of the state's population, and we're right behind them at 20%. They've got 167,000 people up there, and we've got 60,000 people in the county down here. And none of those resources that would otherwise have gone to Burlington, if they had had an increase, have been relocated to Rutland. But that's a challenge for everyone in this room, frankly, to try to address. And I put on the bottom of that, again, that last piece, that the relatively smaller increase in persons experiencing homelessness in Chittenden County is likely due to the extremely tight market for hotel rooms in the county, which was required to relocate shelter to, or individuals relocate shelter in other communities. This is not to say that Chittenden County sent anyone here. It's just that Chittenden County did not have any hotel and motel owners who chose to raise their hands and say, we will enter into contracts with the state. But that did happen down here. And what the unfortunate outcome is, Ben, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, so please understand it, that motel and hotel owners throughout the state, as evidenced by Rutland's experience, Wyndham's experience, and Barry's experience, are really driving homeless policy for the state of Vermont. Because we are a shelter-first state, the policy around homelessness is simply being created by people who are willing to say, we'll take $80 a night. And with no consideration for the resources available in that community. And that's to the detriment of the state's clients. It's to the detriment of the community. And more than anything else, guys, it's a detriment to the kids who are growing up in really horrid conditions. So that's what we got. If you want to ask any questions at all, Megan and I and the mayor will be willing to answer it. If you guys want to throw this into a committee, do so, and then we can meet you there. If you want to throw it into committee of the whole, do so.
So moved.
Committee of the whole? All right, so we have a motion to refer this to committee of the whole. It's been seconded. Any discussion on the referral? Alderman Adams.
I just want to be mindful, and I'm absolutely not an expert on the subject, but you referenced numerous times the hotel owners raising their hands.
Yes.
For $80 a night. I guess I just want to be careful that we as a local government aren't asking for more state resources and in effect raising our hands and saying we'll take $80 for the night by setting up a shelter here. I mean, we've seen it. If we build it, they will come, and I just want to be cautious.
It's a great point. And you know, I don't know what the process is going to look like going forward, Alderman Adams, but I would say the mayor's position may be, and it certainly would be my recommendation and Megan's recommendation, that if individuals are moved from the hotels here into transitional housing, then the motel and hotel rooms they leave to go into a transition housing facility should not be filled with other individuals from other parts of the state, simply because that hotel owner now has a vacant room that they'd be able to bring down someone from somewhere else. So really well spoken,
And
we're mindful.
I do want to add to that, you know, part of the resources we're exploring also is, you know, there's this recognition from us that not everyone who is unhoused wants to stay in Rutland, right? That Chris made the excellent point that some people have come down here for the voucher program. They've been taken away from other resources that are more central to their home community. And so we are exploring resources that can also help people get back to where their resources are, where their social connections are, and that'll be a big part of our work as well.
Thank you very much, Chris and Megan. Probably could use this, but sorry.
So we have a motion. We need to vote on that motion. So it's a motion to refer further discussion of this to Committee of the Whole. It's been seconded. There's no further debate. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Chris and Megan, for coming.
One more thing, and I apologize for this. As we said, there's going to be a public forum, likely on the 17th. Oh, look at that, what you got there. And that's going to be the timing where most of the individuals who have been in the hotels since July 1st at the beginning of the fiscal year will run out of their 80 days of their 80 vouchers for 80 nights. That's a fiscal year number exclusive of December 1 to March 31. There's no rules for winter. But, well, there's some rules as far as eligibility. But it's, we will be wanting to work with you guys when the motels start to empty out around September 15th through October 15th.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in. If you have any more questions, feel free to send them to me or Chris and Megan directly, and we can have that discussion in committee as well. Just to recap what Chris was just saying, we are going to hold basically a public forum, just a conversation, not an official meeting, not an official public hearing, but just a conversation at the Rutland Rec Community Center, September 17th at 7 p.m. for people to come and have this discussion. Earlier this week, we had last week, we had a conversation with vacant property owners. So we messaged specifically the vacant property owners in Rutland City, the one that we knew of. We tried to communicate as much as possible to them to have a conversation about making sure that their properties are secured and are not accessible to individuals that may not have shelter. The reason for that is a little bit more thoughtful than you would think. The concept being that those places are usually unsafe. There are buildings with no backs on them. There are buildings that are falling down throughout the city, and we want to make sure that those are secured so that there's no potential harm to individuals. And we're very aware of where those individuals are as they come out of this program. So again, if you'd like to share your concerns, have a conversation, hear what kind of the thoughts and process of the plan are, September 17th we'll be having that conversation. Any questions on that? Okay, great. I will be very brief. I just did want to touch on the road reconfiguration. It was completed I'll call it phase 1 on Tuesday. So we had actually worked with the state and asked for these things to happen in July because of issues with their contractors. And remember, this is a state project, so the city doesn't have any real say as to timing of these things, but we've been working with the state. These were supposed to take place in July, but they did end up executing last week, which is good. There's still some things left to be done. There's some line painting that needs to be done. Arrows need to go on the road. These are real safety elements. We had the state, a couple representatives from the state come down and meet with us on Thursday morning last week to make sure that they understood the importance of getting those things completed within the city, to make sure that the lines were fully reconfigured, the signs were fully in place as this happens. Concerns like Elizabeth's have been coming into the office, and we've identified 3 or 4 problem areas that we're addressing. All these things are actually kind of some moving parts and puzzle pieces. We've been working with our city engineering. They've been working directly with the state. We've got some great plans in place to remedy some of the issues that we've seen. None of those issues have resulted in any major accidents so far, which is great. But just like Elizabeth presented to us earlier in the meeting, there is the potential there. So we want to keep an eye on those. Not too many problem areas, which is great. So we'll keep you updated as those come out and we make those adjustments. But please be aware that we are working on them. Outside of that, I did just want to touch very quickly on the governor's visit. The governor came down to announce some grants that had taken place in the housing space. We did that with the Rutland Housing Trust for part of one of their opportunities here in the city. It was a nice visit to have, lots of representatives there. So just want to say thank you to him for doing that announcement in Rutland. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you. Move on to consideration of special event permit requests. First, we have an application for the 2X Monster Truck Show scheduled for September 14th. This is on pages, 7 to 8 of your packet.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any debate? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I'll move for the approval of special events permit for the Monster Truck Show to be held September 14th at the fairgrounds.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve. It's been seconded. Alderwoman McClure.
I was just wondering if there's a representative of this event here tonight able to speak on it?
The clerk is informing that there is not, as the organizer is out of state, or resides out of state.
Understood, thank you.
Any additional discussion or debate? We have a motion to approve on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have a special event permit application for the Rutland Halloween Parade to be held on October 26th. You'll find this application on pages 9 to 10 of your packet. Alderman Gillen?
Move to suspend the rules and take the matter up.
Second.
Right, we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any debate? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And is there anyone here to speak about the Halloween parade? Welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Colleen from the Rec Department and I'm here to get everyone excited about Halloween. So we currently have 10 entries, but in the past it normally picks up around September, so we'll expect to see 60, 70 more rolling through in this month. The road closures and the parade route will stay the same as they have in the past few years. The road closures are essential for safe staging and will be posted in advance, but if you see them online, please share them. We can never be too proactive when it comes to helping people prepare for that night. And all parade entries are required to be decorated in the spirit of Halloween. We do ask that participants and entries consider the broad range of ages that do attend the parade, because we do have some young families that some things may be a little too scary for. And we are welcoming political entries this year, and specific guidelines for those entries are provided during the registration process so that they align with the event's atmosphere. Last year, we were very excited to have members of the Board of Aldermen and the mayor lead the parade with the banner, and we would like to extend that offer to you all again. I will be sending out a formal invitation later this week. And that is all. We do have the Pumpkin Royalty Contest does roll into the parade, as well as the Jack-o'-lantern contest. Come Alive Outside is helping with the Jack-o'-lantern this year. You may have seen it on their Facebook page, but the Jack-o'-lantern will be leading the parade, as well as the Pumpkin Royalty, and all the schools to follow. But that is all.
Great.
Alderwoman McClure.
What are your plans for trash mitigation during that event? I know that that's been a topic that's come up a lot this year, and I remember last year there were some folks handing out some organic produce that got left in the road, and it was very funny to watch the squirrels go for them from my apartment window, but I'd like to know what the plan is this year.
So in the past, Tyler Dahlin from maintenance has actually coordinated with the DPW department to push everything into middle of the street, and then they sweep it. Is that correct? That's still what's going to happen.
Awesome. If I may, we did have a great conversation earlier this year in the Environmental Sustainability Committee about reaching out to the Rutland County Solid Waste District for additional trash cans at no cost to event organizers. So if that is something the rec department could utilize, I strongly suggest you guys check it out.
Sounds great.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion to approve on the floor. It's been seconded. Alderman Gillen.
thought we suspend the rules yet?
You did, yeah.
Have we put a motion on the floor yet? I
No.
don't think we put a motion on the floor.
No.
Move to approve the Halloween parade
Second.
on the 10/26
All right. So we have
downtown Rutland.
a motion to approve the special event permit for the Halloween parade. It has been seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is reports and letters from department heads and officials. First up, we have Parks and Facilities Director Dahlin with updates on the Godnick Adult Center ADA Walking Path Project and the Main Street Park Project.
We have good news, right? It's been a long time coming. So yeah, the Godnick Adult Center, we'll start with that one. So we received a grant, probably a little over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, to start this project. We're putting in about 1,000 feet, 10 foot wide of ADA accessible, compliant walking path behind the Godnick Adult Center. It kind of you'll be able to view it from the Temple Street end. In conjunction with the path, obviously with state requirements, we have to put in a large rain garden structure, which we are doing in-house. So the rain garden structure has begun. Again, we are doing that. We have some of the outlet control structures, all that stuff set. Some of the special materials that were required for that we have acquired, so we will get into full force going on that probably next week. Kurt Hathaway, he received the bid for the path work. So Kurt is a local guy. I think some of you guys know him. He went to Rutland. Super happy to have him on board with us for this path. He's going to get going actually probably tomorrow with some of the layout. He's going to be doing the sub-base work for the path in preparation for the paving of it upcoming fall here. A couple weeks left probably on the rain garden. Once we get going on that, Kurt anticipates probably about a month worth of worst case scenario, that's rain dates and stuff like that heading into fall here. We've talked with Ted at DPW with the paving contractor, trying to coordinate their end of season work with our stuff to make sure that we can get this it paved in this year's paving construction season. So hopefully that'll all work out. Looks like it will. So we're excited to have it. It's going to be a great addition to the Godnick Adult Center. Beautiful space out back there. I don't know if a lot of you folks have probably been out there. There is a gazebo that is actually out there as well, which we've decided during the construction, because it's all closed off, we're actually going to do some rehab work on that gazebo. A lot of the legs are old pine boards. They're rotting off at the bottom. So we're replacing all the leg material with PVC for a good long-term fix for that. So hopefully we won't have to mess with that in the future. We're also running conduit out to the gazebo area as well to help enhance that space for rentals in the future. There's no power out there right now. There's no real lights. There's no other amenities besides the gazebo and some picnic tables. So in-house, we're kind of adding that into this project to kind of, add a little bit to it. And it's also stuff that we need to put in now, because I don't want to have to run conduit underneath a 10-foot wide path later. So we're going to put that stuff in now in anticipation of the future. And, April and Emily, they're always programming that place out with tons of rentals. So we want to make sure that we have the right stuff in place for them for all their rentals and upcoming. While the project is going on, obviously there'll be a little inconvenience in the parking lot at the Godnick Adult Center. We're staging some stone material up in the front lot. Kurt is going to try to actually access the working area from off of Temple Street, so we're not driving a lot of large, heavy trucks through the parking lot. Obviously, a lot of elderly folk are up there. Don't want to disturb them as much as we possibly can. So, any questions on the Godnick before I go to Main Street?
Alderman Heck.
Tyler, is it possible that it's going to be a year-round type of a walking path, or is it just going to be for non-winter or non-snow type of?
The path will be 10 foot wide. It would be something that we could definitely consider. We could run a truck and a plow down it to push snow off. Obviously, if we're going to keep it, we got to make sure it's heavily salted. We don't want anybody to slip out back. So that is a consideration that could be looked at for the winter months.
I think that would be great if you could. A lot of folks tend to, like to walk still. They'll utilize Home Depot or, whatever might be out there in that capacity. So anything, as you stated, I was thinking, an 8-foot plow would be, something you could use. You may not have to go to the full 10-foot width, but just running an 8-foot plow down through there, you know, would be pretty awesome to see if they could do that. And I was just wondering, there's a lot of oak trees in that park right now, and I don't know if you noticed, but
Oh, I've noticed.
when those guys come down, boy, I'll tell you, that's why a lot of deer are running around up in that neighborhood and stuff, but, you know, they can be a detriment to the walking path itself because, you know, acorns are pretty rugged. You know, will you guys, you know, maybe even sweep those, you know, in the fall time, or if leaves come down and those kind of things? There is some maintenance involved with that, for sure.
So we don't sweep anything. We'll blow it off.
Okay.
I'm not pushing a broom. So we have a turbine blower, actually, on a piece of equipment that we have that we utilize all fall long. We have a leaf vac now that we can also utilize. City foresters have been up. They've limbed all those trees all the way up as high as their boom truck can go. Tim and Joe have been super helpful. They came in last year. All the old pines, there was a ton of pine trees that were up in there that obviously are great for roof structures, which they've been removed. So a lot of that stuff has come into consideration. Obviously with the rain garden too, we have to make sure that the leaves aren't building up in the bottom of that, because you are gonna have now an indentation in the ground out back. So there will be some maintenance challenges. And it's, you know, I can plan the best I can now, but there'll be kind of things that we'll have to figure out as we get rolling. But yeah, definitely keeping the path clean. I mean, if it's ADA and that's what we're promoting it to be, we got to make sure that no one's going to be slipping and rolling around on acorns out there. And so, yeah.
Thank you.
Alderman Gillen?
I'm just worried about November for election, but I'm gonna have the stone gone by then.
It'll all be gone. It'll be gone probably hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, good, thank you.
Yep.
All right. And you
Any
have
other questions on Godnick? We'll move to Main Street.
Very good.
Yeah.
Main Street Park. This is a long time coming. About 5 years now we've been working on this one. It originally came to us with the Parks Foundation. You folks approved us some money during the COVID times. Main Street Park is officially underway. It's not to the extent of which we hoped it would be in the beginning, but we're calling this phase 1 of the project. Russell Construction and NBF. So NBF provide the original architectural designs for the park, and Russell Construction has come on board as a construction manager. Phenomenal to work with. Russell's been, you know, they're a great local construction company. They helped us out with the pool. They've helped us kind of take this project and break it down into a few phases. For us, obviously, and for the community, the gazebo is the biggest part of it, right? I mean, the gazebo right now has been unused for a couple years due to the infrastructure underneath the slab being inadequate. So John Russell Jr. III, I mean, big thank you to him for his expertise in coming out and helping us. And Ed Clark, just, you know, he's helped us redesign and re-put out, you know, changes and everything. Phenomenal guys that I've been working with for this project. The Rutland area is very fortunate to have them. Today we pulled the power off the building, the gazebo. We've moved it back onto a pedestal. Russell's been up there. We have the demarcation line set up. There will be a fence that's going up once construction starts. The official groundbreaking, September 9th at 10 a.m. Mayor's going to be there. All you guys are invited. Please come. This is kind of a big one for the Rutland community. The gazebo is, I mean, a huge focal point to this community. So, you know, if you guys can make it out, that would be great. I know it's kind of the middle of the day, but so power's been pulled off. Larry McDuff, our in-house electrician, helped us do that today. Phase 1, gazebo, concrete down is what we're focusing on. Taking the sides, the railings off, dropping it about 2 feet, fully opening up, good access all the way around. 2 steps down, and an ADA path going up to it. The gazebo roughly will be done, they're thinking November. This will include all the grading around the park, around the gazebo. We're going to update the light poles with new fixtures with our electrician, and that'll probably get us through this fall. We've talked to Ted and DPW about in the spring looking at the path in the park that we're going to try to do in-house with the recreation and help from DPW and their expertise with concrete work. So a lot of good collaborations within the city on some of these projects. In saying that, you know, Bob, Ted, and Dan from DPW, they've been awesome to work with a lot of these projects. You know, when this came up and we sat down with Bob and Ted and they looked at it, and Ted said, I think we can help you out with some of the stuff to help defray some of the costs. So it's great to be working with these guys in the city to help, the city's helping the city, right? We're all utilizing our expertises and the stuff that we have in order to help the cost of these projects. So before anybody else asks, art in the park, right? I know everybody's going to ask me about art in the park. Art in the park, it is considered right now. We have to talk to Sherry, and timeline-wise, it's about a month off from the start date. So it will be under construction at the time. We will work directly with Sherry to try to make sure that art in the park will happen. They may have to change some of their layout a little bit, but the area around the gazebo will be secure, so no one, will go into the construction zone. So that is being considered. We don't really know what that looks like just yet, but it is under consideration. So, what do you got?
Questions from members of the board?
Very good. Thank
Not
you.
a question.
You're welcome. Okay, Bill?
Thank
All
you.
right.
All right. Next up is Treasurer Markowski with the Treasurer's Report for the period ending July 31st. And this was emailed to board members.
Hi, everyone. I sent the reports for July. 1 month in, I'm not going to analyze a lot of financial information, but in going through the reports, there were a few things that I really wanted to highlight today, especially the beginning of the fiscal year, and believe it or not, we're already talking about doing the budget for next year here at City Hall, but when I was looking at the RRA reports, I wanted to note that the RRA does not budget for a surplus. However, due to staffing changes, we had excess. So at the RRA, when you look at the balance sheet for the RRA, you'll see we've added to assigned funds, additional funds for capital projects and business development, and also for special projects working with the DRP and signage, improvement in signage downtown. But those are changes in the RRA that I wanted to point out that you see in the July report. So if you have any questions on the RRA, just I like to point out things that are different than what you're usually seeing. The other item, the biggest thing that we did in July was we set a tax rate and we mailed 6,600 tax bills to taxpayers. Today was the first installment was due. It's been incredibly busy through July and August in our office, so hearing a lot from taxpayers, and it's going to be a challenging year for everyone, I think. So keeping that in mind as we enter the budget season, I am so frugal when I go through the AP batch. I think, why are we buying this stuff already 2 months in? I often speak to the mayor about, even if they're small things, they tend to add up. So I'd like to point that out. And one thing that we haven't really done a lot with is that in the general fund, we received funds for opioid relief, the settlement funds. Right now, at the end of July, there's $267,000 available for, it's all outlined in the settlement funds. And then 267 at the end of July. We have 316 right now at the end of August. So not sure where we left it when we first started receiving the funds, but maybe get it into committee. What are,
I believe it is in committee.
It's already there?
Alderwoman Davis?
No, I didn't hear what you said.
I believe it is in committee.
Okay, one of the committees, but
Yeah.
definitely it's growing and it's there. And
If I may.
Yeah.
Were there conditions or
there,
on it as far as what you could use it for?
yes, there are. It's very specific what we can use it for. So I think there was a lot of material that Attorney Bloomer had handed out initially. So
And I believe we had an initial meeting on the topic.
Right.
And the committee at the time thought that it would be best to seek expertise in guidance on how best and most effectively to spend that money to address the sort of.
Yeah, really put it to good use in our community. It's there, so.
So I guess who it would be that expertise? You know, that's, I guess, the question is who is that?
Well, we can reconvene the committee and have that discussion. I can't remember if it's in finance or public safety or where it is, but
I don't think it's in, I don't know.
I'm not sure which committee I meant to look, but just wanted to highlight
or
that
you're
balance
welcome
is
to make a
growing.
new referral if
Right.
you want to make
I'm
certain.
glad to put it in public safety if that's appropriate, because of where the funding, I think the funding was to go in toward prevention and treatment and something, I can't remember.
Right, yeah.
All of it. I don't know where it is now, but.
I can check.
Yeah.
And then another item that I wanted to spotlight tonight, and I know I shared with the board, but over the last year, July 1st of last year, we started with the local option tax. So we received a total of $1.616 million in local option tax revenue. And so that is in a separate fund, just to be used for the 3 items that were in the voter approval. So just spotlight for anyone that's listening, that's there. We had allocated $300,000 of that for pension, toward pension, and then about $656 from that DPW budget that was cut out of there to be funded through the local option tax. So, and then the other thing that I've spent a lot of time on this year is pension. We had a big change. If you hear from anyone in the city pension, the Empower took over Prudential, so that was a big change. And then in May, they actually merged those 2 platforms. So that hasn't been as smooth as I was hoping. So spent a lot of time with retirees, with Kathy Kopanen from the school and myself, just navigating that new system and helping retirees get their pension installments on a timely basis. So that has taken a lot of time. And we will be having a pension meeting end of September, and I'll get that agenda out. But I did put a hold on the calendar for it just to coordinate everyone's schedule. So.
It was referred to finance, but it may have expired. Alderman Heck?
So Mary, on the opioid thing first, is it approximately 600,000 that is now in that fund?
Oh, no, 316
Total?
total,
Okay,
right.
so the 267 plus whatever was there?
Plus, we got another 50.
It's now
Yeah,
350?
yep.
Okay.
I believe there's a motion on the floor to send it to public safety.
Well, no, it's already in finance unless the board wants to choose to put it somewhere else.
Up to you all. Alderman Whitcomb, are you
I'm good
happy
with
to
Yeah.
hold a meeting on it? Great. All right, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I have one other question,
Yep.
Mary, if I may. Just looking over the report that you sent out and stuff, I'm just wondering, there were some positions that may still not be filled in regards to activity out there. I'm not sure with the PD where they are. They got $4 million in salary type items now and stuff. I'm just wondering if we can get information on what positions that are still out there waiting to be filled, because as taxpayers, we got a $23 million budget, and if there's X amount sitting out there, we're still paying taxes on that. So just a number I'd like to have to see where we are in regards. I mean, these were funds that were requested, they were voter approved, which is perfectly fine, but I just want to see what details are out there in regards to what's not filled at this point in time. So maybe the taxpayers will get something back at the end of the day if they're not filled at this time, but not knowing is not helping.
Okay, I will have another report for the end of August, and I'll bring that.
That would be
I'll try to
perfect.
do a little research on that.
That would be
okay?
perfect. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Engineer Gillen with a request to authorize the mayor to sign the USDA Forest Service grant agreement. A memo and supporting documents are on pages 11 to 35 of your packet. Alderman Gillen?
Move to suspend the rules and take the matter up tonight.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion
I
passes.
yield to the engineer to do a report.
Thank you. This has been a long time coming. Last year, we applied for this grant. We applied for about $7.7 million for a tree canopy improvement grant. We received notification either late last year or early this year that we got an award for $1 million. Since that time, we had to pare down the scope of work, have a lot of discussions with federal government about a lot of red tape. Took me a while to get through the process, but the grant agreement is finally here. Just to recap it, the primary objective is to improve the tree canopy downtown. There's some other ancillary work about reestablishing green belts on specific streets, particularly in the southwest area, along with planting trees around thermally impaired waterways. So tonight I'm just looking for a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the USDA Forest Service grant for $1 million for the Rutland City Urban Tree Canopy enhancement in disadvantaged areas, following review by the city attorney, of course.
Alderman Taddeo.
I just wanted to thank you for your work on this project. I'm super excited to see more trees in downtown Rutland, and I think it's going to be a great improvement for our community. And I will move to authorize the mayor to sign the USDA Forest Service $1 million grant award agreement for the Rutland City Urban Tree Canopy enhancement in disadvantaged areas, following review by the city attorney.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to approve, or a motion to authorize the mayor to sign. It has been seconded. Any discussion? Alderman Heck?
How many trees do we get for $1 million?
We'll find out. Take us a while to get there, but we've got 5 years to do it.
Okay. I know you'll spend it wisely.
Alderman McCann?
Based on my connection to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, I'm going to abstain from this vote.
Okay. Any additional discussion or debate? So we have a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the grant agreement. It has been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the Executive Director of the Rutland Redevelopment Authority, Ed Bove, with a request to sign the resolution of support for the Vermont Community Development Program grant application for 133 Forest Street. You'll find information on pages 36 to 38.
Thank you. We had the public hearing earlier tonight before this meeting for the project 133 Forest Street. Again, it's a 30-unit development, and the city will be applying for $650,000 from the VCDP program. I believe you have the resolution in front of you. Be signed.
I will pass it.
Alderwoman Taddeo?
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Motion to circulate the VCDP grant application for 133 4th Street for signature.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to circulate for signatures. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to reports of standing committees. First, we have Alderwoman Taddeo with a report from the Community and Economic Development Committee meeting of August 20th. This is on page 39.
The topics included discussion on the Rutland Innovation District placemaking plan, and additionally the Rutland Civic Center potential move to the Asa Bloomer building. Committee members present were myself, Alderwoman McClure, Alderman McCann, and Alderwoman Davis. Others present were Mayor Dundas, President Talbot, Alderman Barbagallo, Alderman Gillum, Alderman Adams, Lisa Glover, Ed Bove, Lyle Jepson, Gordon Tortrillo, and community member Don Taddeo. The meeting was called to order at 5:30 p.m. The first topic of conversation was whether Rutland City should formally adopt the Rutland Innovation District placemaking plan. Lisa Glover, the placemaking fellow from the Center on Rural Innovation, had previously presented the plan in July and joined the committee in person to answer any follow-up questions the committee had. Lisa Glover also presented the plan at the hub to the committee on Tuesday morning. If the Board of Aldermen choose to adopt the plan, it will open more opportunities for grants and funding because often grants require a plan in place to be successful. If the city adopts the plan, there is no formal action required, but it will be available for the city's use. Alderman McCann made a motion to adopt the Rutland Innovation District Placemaking Plan. This motion passed 4-0, and I so move.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to adopt the placemaking plan. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
The second topic of conversation was the possibility of a Rutland Civic Center at the Asa Bloomer building. This topic was information only, as an update on the current conversation about City Hall moving to the Asa Bloomer building. Theoretically, it would centralize the location of City Hall, the library, and some of the state's services. The third floor would be used for City Hall, and the first floor would be used for the library. The Asa Bloomer building is fully ADA accessible, is up to date with its code, and has recently had a lot of repairs completed. At this time, the city needs to do a scoping study to assess the costs to remain in the current City Hall building or the costs associated with moving. If City Hall moves to the Asa Bloomer building, it could add $1 million property back onto the grand list and free up more space for housing. Alderman Adams and Davis both suggested that the public should be involved in this conversation. Alderwoman Davis suggested adding a non-binding question to the March ballot to see if city residents are in favor of City Hall moving to the Asa Bloomer building. Alderwoman McClure asked if either the library or City Hall are on the historic building registry. I have made an update to the minutes. According to Elizabeth Coulis, City Hall is on the Rutland City Downtown District on the state registry. The library at 10 Court Street is in the Rutland City Courthouse District on the state registry. This makes both buildings eligible to be listed in the National Register of Historic Places as part of districts, although they are not currently listed. Mayor Dundas suggested Board of Aldermen members and members of the public check out South Burlington's new Civic Center, where the city combined their City Hall and library. This topic was for information only and will remain in committee. This meeting adjourned at 6:22 p.m.
Thank you. Reports of select committees. We have Alderwoman McClure with a report from the Human Resources Committee meeting of August 29th. This is on page 40.
Thank you very much. The Human Resources Committee met on August 29th, 2024. Those present were myself, Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Taddeo. Others present were Board President Talbot, Attorney LaChance, Ellen Coyle from Rutland City Human Resources, and Catherine Alvarez-Rios, our UVM extern in the city attorney, or yes, UVM extern? VLS extern, forgive me, in the city clerk's office. The meeting came to order at 5:32 p.m. The Human Resources Committee met on the day listed above to revisit the final draft of the Rutland City Alderman's social media guidance document and discuss the guidance that had been workshopped amongst members of the committee, the city attorney, and Rutland City Human Resources. The meeting began with interruptions around the room to our city attorney's new Vermont Law School extern, Catherine Alvarez-Rios. The document contained a guidance on how aldermen may be cautioned on their social media usage due to their nature as an elected official, due to existing state statutes and guidance from the VLCT, as well as drawing inspirations from other municipalities' existing policies. This document contained a how-to guide for social media for newly elected officials, as well as outlines policy regarding the Freedom of Information Act when utilizing one's personal social media for public official business, and provided context on what city guidance may be for an alderman when choosing to post on social media. This new version of the document included warnings against elected officials using racism and other forms of hate speech on their personal and official social medias. The guidance was determined to be appropriate after some conversation. Alderwoman Sharon Davis made the motion to pass the Rutland City social media guidance document as provided. This motion passed 3-0, and I so move.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the social media guidance document as presented, and it's been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Conversation was had to determine an appropriate timeline for board members to go over this document, sign, and provide back to the city clerk. Ultimately, it was decided that with the holiday weekend, Labor Day approaching, the upcoming Board of Aldermen meeting falling upon the Tuesday provides an adequate timeline for board members to review through the weekend. The meeting adjourned at 5:37 p.m.
Thank you. Moving on to reports of representatives, we have none. Petitions, letters, miscellaneous communications, we have none. Board of Control Commissioners, we have nothing on the agenda. Board of Cannabis Commissioners, we have one item on the agenda, an application for indoor cultivation Tier 2. You'll find a copy on pages 48 to 49. I'd entertain a motion to go into the Board of Cannabis Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to go into the Board of Cannabis Commissioners. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And I believe we have an application for licensure indoor cultivator Tier 2 for Nature's Gift Alternatives. This came, Alderman Adams.
I believe this came before the board at our last meeting and was tabled until this meeting in the absence of a representative at that time. Do we have a representative?
I believe you're correct. I believe you voted it down last time, and he approached the city clerk asking that it be put on the agenda again.
Yes, he said he was going to be here, but is Eric here?
Hiding under the bench? Nope. Okay. What is the board's pleasure?
I'll move to receive and file.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to receive and file the application. It's been seconded. Discussion or debate on the motion? Alderman McCann.
I think I might have asked a similar question of the city attorney last time. I don't know if this is, if there's been any clarity on this, or do we have a certain amount of time that we have to act on this, and if we don't, it'll basically go forward without us? Is that the idea?
There is guidance on a specific amount of time on which we have to take it up and take a vote on it, as I recall, but it doesn't give specific guidance. And again, I'm not staring at the rules right now, in terms of what happens if we don't take it up. I believe no action on our part is considered in favor of it. It will go forward after a certain amount of time, and I can double check on that deadline and report back to the board tomorrow.
Alderman Adams.
Another question for the city attorney. What happens? Is the Board of Aldermen's decision on the matter relevant to the state's approval of the license?
I know they do take it into consideration, but what weight they give to it is at their discretion.
So we're essentially just giving smiles to be...
Alderwoman Davis, did you have a...
So my question, I guess, to the city attorney's point, we did take action on the first 2 weeks ago as we moved to deny it. I believe it came back before us because the gentleman requested it because he wanted to be present. He's not present, so I think that's why we moved. But I think action, I guess my point is, action was taken and it was to deny.
And if that action was taken, and forgive my faulty memory on that, do we have that in the minutes of whether that was? Because I don't recall it having been denied. I know there was discussion.
I believe it was
Around it.
Alderman Gillen that,
I think the motion failed.
Well, we have a motion on the floor.
right.
So we can withdraw the motion to receive and file if the seconder agrees.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm sorry, I'm just reading what the,
Yeah, it looks like, looking at the minutes from the last meeting, that there was a motion and the motion
failed.
failed.
Right,
Um,
right. There was only one yes, the rest were no.
Yeah, it was voted down.
Right.
yeah.
So there was action.
Correct.
So we have a motion on the floor to receive and file. It has been seconded. Any further discussion or debate on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to go out of the Board of Cannabis
So
Commissioners?
moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're out of the Board of Cannabis Commissioners. That brings us to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? Seeing none, do we have any miscellaneous motions, resolutions, or new business? Seeing none, Alderman Heck?
Just a quick question. Mayor Dunn just said, noted in regards to the new road diet and stuff. I'm just wondering, there was talk about traffic getting into the inner neighborhoods, and traffic counts would be looked at. Wondering in regards to the criteria or how data will be gathered. I know up on Hillside, I believe there's a counter off of Hillside just as before you enter, but took a ride around today with the pup, just looking for any other types of road counting type devices. I know there's a reduced speed blinker just outside of the entrance of Northeast School. I did not see anything, you know, on Temple, Stratton, Harrington, any of those other type of neighborhoods. So as we get involved in this here, people are commenting they're not using this, they're not using that. People are saying they're increased traffic within their neighborhoods. So I'm just wondering what it is that we're going to do to either establish if it's true or if it's not true, and how that information, you know, based upon what, you know, if there's data prior to how roads were being used prior to the road digest, now that the road digest is here, or the diet, how it's being fermented. So I just wanted to see what we may be looking into.
Mayor Dunges?
Yeah, brief answer if I can. So right now we're working with the Regional Planning Commission to collect the data on those streets where you see the counters, as you said. So we want to do a like-for-like comparison. In conversations, I actually happened to speak with Executive Director Neary today. Last year, there were several streets studied for a 2-week period in the Northwest, and, you know, basically everything north of Woodstock, and then there were several streets studied south of 7, another 2-week period, and then south of Woodstock as well. So the timeline for collecting the data is probably going to be about 30 to 45 days. We're going to be using the traffic counters, and we're going to try to compare like-for-like weeks, so we know, you know, foliage and everything, that we're looking at accurate data comparison-wise. That's using the traffic counters. The second source of data that we're going to use is something called INRIX. You can Google it if you like. It's a collection of data from multiple points, but primarily from the GPS of your cell phone. That data is reported back through apps like Google Maps and Apple Maps, and it gives us very, very accurate road utilization data. And it's got 10 years of history. The closer we get to today, the more accurate that history is. So we'll look at the previous probably 2-3 years and look at travel times, side road utilization based on today, and we can capture that data today. There's also a little bit of a delay to that data as well, so probably about a 3-day delay before we can actually capture the data. So what we'll probably look at doing is sometime in mid-October, we'll look at the first round of reports, and then I'm going to try to give an update every 2 weeks in the board meetings, just to kind of look at that traffic utilization and where that's going to happen. So, great question. Thank you.
Very good. Any additional miscellaneous motions, resolutions, or new business? If not, we have executive sessions, if you want to read the language for the first one.
So for the first one, I would entertain a motion to find that premature general public knowledge regarding the negotiation of a contract would clearly place the city at a substantial disadvantage because the discussion will divulge the board's position on the contract provisions to be negotiated.
So moved.
Do we have a second? So we have a motion, it's been seconded. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right, and then I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session with the inclusion of the mayor, city attorney, city treasurer, city clerk, Chief Kilcullen, since he's still in the room here, and also the legal extern, Kat Alvarez Rios. And did I miss anybody?
Second, or so moved, excuse me.
Second. All right, so we have a motion to go into executive session. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.